Good evening. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the man cave. Uh, let's see here. I'm trying to get everything back to where I need to be. Brother Jeff, how's life in Orlando?
Life is good.
Graham, glad you could hang out with us. And Tanya. Tanya's up there running the show from the background. Excellent. It's Friday. Russ, Happy New Year to you too. Glad you could make it in here with us tonight. I'm looking forward to my weekly bourbon. This will actually be a second bourbon for me this week. Eric, glad you could make it. I had another glass of that Elijah Craig 18-year-old the other night. Robert, single barrel, Four Roses single barrel, awesome. With a
With a
splash of
splash
cheer
of cheer
lime.
lime.
Oh boy, I'm going to I'm going to hit this Knob Creek single barrel tonight. Mike, glad you could make it as well. Peter from Reno, Andrew, and the Barbecue Bandit from over on YouTube. Excellent. I went to the liquor store. Tanya and I did a little road tripping today. We went down to Greensboro, North Carolina to do a couple of things down there. But on my way home, I stopped in States at Southern Distilling because I wanted to get another bottle of that Southern Star Paragon wheated bourbon that they make that I like so well. Old Forester 1920. Russ, I saw some of that today. My local shop has a whole shelf now of Old Foresters, and they've got a bunch of different varieties of it. But I've not had it before, so I didn't know whether I should pick one of those up or what. I need to do a little research into Old Forester to see if I think it's something I'd like or not. I don't know anything about it. So Viking Scar Scotch from Andrew. Not familiar with that one either, but it sounds good. I've got a couple of bottles. I've got a Viking something or another bottle from one of those two Orkney Island distilleries. It's not Scapa, but it's the other one. Uh, I'll figure that out later. Barrel strength at 115. Okay. I have not had a Scotch whiskey at barrel strength ever. I've not experienced that. Andy, glad you could make it in with us. So, Andrew, Highland Park. Okay, that's the one I've got, but it's heck. Let me just look. It's Highland Park. It's Vikings. The Viking Honor is the one I have. The 12-year-old. I haven't finished that bottle off. I've only been about halfway through that bottle, but that's a good bourbon. That's a really good bourbon. I'm sorry, a good Scotch whiskey. It's not a bourbon at all. So, uh, Jefferson. Uh, let's see. Jefferson. I don't know if this qualifies as that or not. This is Jefferson's Reserve. Is that? I haven't. I'm not a big fan of this one. This one's one that's finished in Cabernet bottles, so I don't have a lot of experience with that one. So, Motor, glad you could make it. Good deal. But it is Thursday. Logan, I don't have the cigar blend. That's the Magnus. It's the triple cask finished. It's not the cigar blend. I don't have that one. Tanya, he's talking about that one you picked up for me at the lottery.
Yeah. The two people in front of me got the Weller, and they got the last cigar blend. So I was close to it.
The cigar blend, I'm not sure It's something I'd like to try, but I think the cigar blend is significantly more expensive than that one. That triple cask, that cask finished one was that's $100 bottle, and I think the cigar blend was more. I don't remember what it cost. So, but anyway, cheers, Jeff. You having a drink with us?
Weller.
Hmm. Jeff has a bottle of the Weller 107. That's one I haven't had my hands on yet.
And I am having Martinelli's sparkling cider, my favorite.
Awesome. This Knob Creek is that I'm having tonight's an easy to get one. It's they call it their single barrel reserve. It's a 9-year old. Uh, they don't call it barrel proof and they don't call it cask strength, but it's 120 proof. It's on up there. But when I stopped by my local ABC store right before I came home, and they still had some of that 17-year-old George Dickel. Apparently, that's not going as quickly as some of the others, but they had a bottle of Buffalo Trace in there, and I just didn't buy the Buffalo Trace. They had it out. They had that 10-year-old Henry McKenna that's so popular. They've got some new stuff that I've not seen before. They've got some of this Penelope. They had some Smoke Wagon, and the Smoke Wagon's something I need to try because that's a high rye bourbon, and I need to try that somehow. I'm not going to buy a bottle of that until I can taste it up front. But there's another bottle that I want to get, this Russell's Reserve cask strength. I'd like to try that one, or the barrel strength. I've heard some neat stuff about that one. So anyway, I'm glad you could all join us tonight. We got quite a few things I want to try to get through this evening. Tanya, we'll bring you back. Let's see here. Jeff did a little cooking this week.
Yep, the proverbial prime rib.
The Christmas prime rib.
Christmas prime rib, buddy.
How big was this one?
That one, let's see. About a 7-pounder.
Yeah, what, 3-bone?
No, that was 4-bone.
A 4-bone one? Is this one of the Publix ones?
Oh, yeah.
And how did you prep this one?
Just with the Himalayan Sherpa, and what else did I put on that? Put some of Darren's black garlic on there. Turned out good.
Let's see here. And then what we got going on?
Oh man, we got my Brussels going on. You know, gotta get my pork fat in there.
Yeah, cooking some bacon.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Is that the Junior?
No,
that's the classic.
That's the classic.
So we're cooking in the bark here.
Yeah. Put the other 2 sides in there to finish up.
Yeah. Did you shred your Brussels sprouts?
Cut them with a knife. We don't use a shredder on them. Cut them with the knife, and you know they're shredded that way.
You just like saute those in the bacon grease?
Well, I get a nice caramelization going on them because I think caramelized Brussels sprouts is where it's at. I mean,
you put anything else in there with them besides the bacon grease?
Himalayan Sherpa, bacon grease, onions, and bacon.
And this looks like that finished roast. Did you sear it, or is this just what you get?
No, that's just what you get.
What temp?
That's where that black garlic kind of gives you a little darker appearance on the bark.
Popovers, or you did the Yorkshire pudding. Tell me about your process here.
Okay, hang on a second, Gracie. My process on that is let's see, that was 4 eggs, 200 grams of flour, 200 milliliters of salt, and then 200 milliliters of milk, excuse me.
Yeah.
Beat the eggs up real good, get a lot of air into them.
Yeah.
Add your milk to it, get that all beat up real good. Then take and sift your flour into it, so you make sure that you get no lumps. And then at the
Right.
end, put just a pinch of salt in. And I try to do that usually 4 hours before I'm ready to bake them. I allow that batter to sit.
Huh.
Um,
What does that help you with?
well, it brings it more up to room temperature, and everything that I've read, warmer batter rises higher than a colder batter does.
Okay.
So,
So do you preheat the pan in the oven with some oil in the tins?
yeah, I didn't know how many I was going to get. That's a big muffin tin, so I
Right.
heated all the compartments up with oil and only got 5 out of it.
Right.
But they were 5 good ones.
This looks like a nice meal going on here.
Yeah, that's the whole spread.
What you got going on over here? Is that corn? Some
Yeah,
sort
that's
of
a
corn?
corn casserole, and then in the
Yeah.
center there, it's our cauliflower mash, which
Yeah. And
you
then the
got to try
Brussels.
sometime. You'd like that. The Brussels, the Yorkshire pudding in
Yeah.
the back, and then that fine prime rib sitting up there in the front.
Heck yeah, that looks good. These look good. I've tried these. I've played with this, but I wasn't really calling it Yorkshire pudding, even though that's what it is. It would just calling it popover rolls. But
Yeah.
this is a neat technique, and I'm curious. I want to talk with you more about what you did there because I didn't let mine sit. And one of the things I'm curious about. Hang on a minute.
Well, how
Dadgummit.
full did you fill the tins? Because I let it sit for 4 hours. I put a quarter of an inch of oil in the bottom of your muffin tins,
I didn't let it
and
sit that long. And
and then I
I
put
just
that in the
know.
oven at 370 degrees for between 15 and 20 minutes to let it come up to to a good temp, and use a
Yeah.
good safflower based oil, something with a you know high heat range,
Right.
and then pull that pan out and immediately pour your batter in, and use the
Yeah.
spoon so that as you're going from one tin to the next, you don't get any slop over. Because if you get
Hmm.
slop over, supposedly, from what I'm told, it doesn't raise. I don't remember that when I was a chef, but I can't tell you how many of those things I made when back in the day when we were doing prime rib every night. But
What
I've
I'm
made
curious
thousands of
about
them in
is
my life.
I'm curious about making the batter in the Vitamix when it comes to whipping more air into it.
I'd probably work good.
Well, I just learned something. When you plug your laptop in to charge it, when you plug the cable into the laptop,
Hmm.
if the other end of that cable's not plugged into the wall, your laptop's not going to charge.
You think
This is important.
that's a disconnect there, John?
Well, electricity does not pass via osmosis, or
No.
it's gotta be a physical connection. So my laptop came up here and just told me it was in battery saver mode, and I just unplugged it from the wall or from the charger a little while ago. And sure enough, my charger was not plugged into the wall. So
That
but
helps.
now I've got power. So we're going to be good to go. Yeah, this looks good. Was that what you guys did on Christmas?
Yep, that was our Christmas dinner.
Well, that's looking awesome. Yeah, Paul knows it. That's crazy.
That's good
That's
keto. Okay, I'll be right back.
yeah, but uh,
You want?
let me figure out where I'm going next here in our picture file. Yeah, my laptop just didn't charge. I guess I should have asked my wife to come check on my laptop and see if it was charged up. I don't know. I don't want to let her down because I impressed Tanya. Was it yesterday or the day before with my technical savvy? I had to replace an office chair. I had to buy a new office chair for my desk, and I put it together all by myself.
Proud of you, John. You're getting there, buddy. Hang in
Yeah,
there.
I put it together, and I was I was discussing that with her today, and I think I asked her specifically, did I say any cuss words while I was putting that together? And she says she doesn't think that I did. So it must have been something that anybody could do.
Well, I've said enough cuss words over my clock, I'll tell you that.
Mhm. Hang on a second, Eric, and I'll tell you.
Save the big pieces there, John.
I just aspirated a little bit of bourbon. It went down the wrong pipe.
That burned.
Christmas Day. Uh, our cold day was Christmas Eve, if I'm not mistaken. Let me get Tanya in here where she can correct me if I'm wrong. Tanya, I think the coldest temperature I saw was Christmas Eve morning when I was leaving the hospital to come home from work Saturday morning. It was about 4 degrees outside. Uh, I think the lowest temperature that my weather station here picked up was 3.7 degrees, and that was Saturday morning. So it was cold. We didn't see above freezing over the entire weekend. Friday morning when I got up, it was about 35 degrees outside, but the temperature just fell continually throughout the day, and it kept falling throughout Friday night, and it bottomed out at 3 or 4 degrees. And then we didn't see on Christmas Eve. Tanya, I don't think we got up over 20 or 25 degrees on Christmas Eve, and I don't think we got up over that on Christmas Day either here. I know that's not nearly as cold as it was in some places, but that's still unseasonably cold for where we are. So yeah, that was a cold weekend. Dave, glad you could make it in here with us. All right, Tanya, I'll bring you back. We got IKEA dresser. Putting it together. I know the feeling, man.
I think IKEA goes together really well.
It probably does. I don't think I've ever bought anything from IKEA that I had to put together. I did some beef ribs this week, and I made video that I'm going to publish probably tomorrow. This is my second video on that A-Smoke pellet grill that company provided for me. I worked through some of the problems I was having. That grill basically has a hot spot in the middle of it, even if you're cooking low and slow. It's a little bit too hot right in the middle. But the trick, oddly enough, is something that most people are going to do anyway. If you foil your drip pan and heat shield, like most people do to try to keep it clean, it evens that temperature out well enough that you can still cook low and slow on it. But without that foil, it's a little bit hot. But I decided anyway, I made a cooking video. I just finished editing this video before our live stream, but Tanya and I went to one of the U.S. Foods chef stores last week, and I bought a couple of racks of these beef short ribs, these chuck ribs, these 4-bone racks. And these guys weigh about 4 to 4.5 pounds a piece. And this one was the slightly larger of the two, and there's the backside of it. But when I prep these things, I like to I went ahead and took the membrane off the backside of that rack, and I also trimmed a good bit of the fat off of the top. Now over here on this left side of that, I didn't trim that all out because that's a really deep piece of fat. This particular rack of ribs is not one of the best ones I've ever seen. It's got a pretty healthy fat vein right here that goes almost down to the bone. So I just decided to leave it there. And I took my Man Cave Meals or my Man Cave Magic #1 rub, which is my basic salt, pepper, garlic blend, and I added some ground coriander to that. I added some ground cumin, and I added a little bit of paprika to it to make myself a rub for this rack. And I used a little Worcestershire sauce here as a binder, and I gave that guy a really good coat of my seasoning blend, and I put it in vacuum seal bag in the Vac 100 and vacuum that up and let it ride in the fridge overnight, so all that seasoning could go to work. And that's all the seasoning I put on this one. So yesterday morning, what day is the day? Thursday, Wednesday morning, I got up and I fired up the smoker, and I fired it up just to 200 degrees. And here's what that rack looks like after I took it out of the fridge. It's kind of interesting when you look at this. When you put, I use kosher salt in my rubs, and the kosher salt crystals are a bit larger, and you can see them all when you put them on there. But after this guy has been in the fridge overnight, all those, you can tell that all those salt crystals have dissolved and are gone. They've worked their way into the meat, and there's nothing left behind but the stuff that won't dissolve. So I stuck this guy on the grill, and I used the one of the meat probes. This grill has 2 meat probes that come with it. I'm not real sure how useful they are, because this grill does not have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or anything, but it'll show you that temperature on the display of the grill, which you'll be able to see if you watch the video. I didn't make a photograph of that to show here, but here we are about 5 hours into this cook. My ribs are looking pretty good. They've got the color that I want. And at that point, I foiled them up and let them go for another couple hours. This cook total went for about 7 hours and 15 minutes, and I foiled them somewhere between 5 and 5.5 hours. And they cooked fine. Everything went well with this cook. This is after I rested it. I pulled them off when they were ready. When this rack of ribs was probe tender, I had internal temperature readings in there anywhere from about 201 to 205 or 206, depending on where you are on the rack. And you see I got good bone pull back there. And one of the reasons, and I think Jeff will back me up on this, a lot of people don't like foiling this stuff, but this liquid that you collect here when you foil this stuff, gold. You don't want to let that go. That's reason enough to foil it, or at least cook on a pan. Jordan, glad you could make it with us tonight. But in this particular case, I didn't save that. But one of the things, that liquid there's got fat and beef liquid from the beef itself in it. That'll make a beautiful pan sauce if you want to serve it over these things. And one of the things I've done in the past with things like beef ribs is you can serve a rib like this over a bed of rice, or over mashed potatoes, or over grits, or over some of your cauliflower mash. Jeff would be really good with that. And go ahead and make that pan gravy. You can make a roux out of this. You've got enough fat and enough liquid there to make a roux, but you're going to want to have some beef stock on hand to, when you start adding your flour to that, once that flour tightens it up, you're going to want to thin it back out with beef stock, or a combination of beef stock and something else. One of my favorite liquid blends for making a pan sauce or a pan gravy, or whatever you want to call it like that, is a mix of Guinness and beef stock. Those two go together, or any beer and beef stock, but I particularly like the flavor that Guinness brings to this. Jeff, it's kind of like that shepherd's pie flavor.
Yep.
But this guy, when I cut it open, here's what you have. And these 2 ribs on the right over here, you can see that fat vein I was talking about. The 2 ribs on the left are perfect. Everything about both of those is perfect. But these 2 have a deep fat vein in it. And you can take this for what you will, but that fat, that I tasted that, and it's incredible. That bit of fat, a lot of people would have aversions to eating that, but oh, it's delicious. Jeff, would you eat it?
Oh yeah, that's good stuff right there.
Yeah. The part I ate off of this is this far right hand rib. I ate about half of that rib yesterday, and the remaining 3 ribs are going to my mom. I've vacuum sealed. My mom, I don't think my mom's ever had any of the beef ribs I've cooked. I can't remember giving her any.
She's in for a treat.
Remember me giving her any, so she's getting the 3 leftovers there. that I'll be taking down there tomorrow.
Gonna individually package those, John?
I did. I
Okay.
vacuum sealed. I put each one of those in an 8x10 vac seal bag, and they're in the refrigerator. I let them cool. Right after I slice those like that, I go ahead and put them. I roll down the top of a vacuum seal bag. I put it down in there, and then I roll it back up and fold it over. And I've got plastic clothespins, and I put them in a 9x13 metal pan and just put them in the refrigerator and let them cool completely before I vacuum seal them. And so they're vacuum sealed, and I've got to go by Mom's on my way to work tomorrow. So I'm gonna deliver those and let her try the beef ribs.
Yeah, she's in for a treat. She'll love you.
I think she's gonna like them. So
If she doesn't, take them back and you'll eat them.
yeah, either that or I'll let my sister try them. I don't know if my sister. I've got some. In fact, I need to try to do that tomorrow too. I've got that brisket I cooked for her that I forgot to take with me on Christmas Day, so they still don't have that brisket yet. So, but anyway, that's where we are. So, guys, one of the things that's just what I cooked this week. One of the things I wanted to talk about this week is what I would like to do in the new year. Jeff, have you thought about that any this week?
Oh yeah.
Let me bring I started a little list, so I want to bring that up here where I can have access to it while we're talking about it. What's something you want to master in 2023, Jeff?
Something I want to master.
Something. What's one of your cooking goals for 2023? Something new, something you haven't done.
I think I'm going to do a beef Wellington on the grill. I have not
So,
done a beef Wellington on the grill.
okay. I'm gonna put that down because one of the things that's on my list is one of the things I've talked about over and over and not done it yet, and that's the pork Wellington. So we'll be able to compare notes on that. I actually bought a year or two ago. I bought one of those rollers to cut the puff pastry lattice where I can lay it
Yeah.
over that and make that look really nice. I bought that, and I've still got it. I just haven't used it yet. So you do beef Wellington, I'll do pork Wellington, and I don't know exactly when I'm going to do it, but the pork Wellington may come quickly because that's something I really like to get done. And guys, if you've got some ideas here, I want to bring you guys into this also. Tell me, if there's things that you think that we need to do that we haven't done already, let us know. And Paul, pizza's on my list also, and we're going to talk about that. And Ryan's wanting to do paella. I don't know. I've thought
Paella
about
is
that.
great on the Kamado.
Yeah, I've thought about paella over and over again, and I just one of the reasons I haven't messed with it is because I don't have a paella pan that'll fit on my classic.
You don't need a paella pan. You know that
I
big,
know, but
that big cast iron? I like using that.
I'd rather have a paella pan because the carbon steel paella pans are thicker and they heat more quickly than cast iron does. But I could get a paella pan now because I've got this Weber, this 26-inch Weber, and I should be able to get a larger paella pan and do that. So I'm going to put that on the list since it's come up. Paella.
I want to get one of those Tiscatas for the grill.
For your Kamado. I've seen those, and I don't know. It's like a big wok, a big flat.
It's like a big
wok.
carbon wok.
Yeah, that's one of those situations where you got to cook hot. I've got a wok, and I was gonna get into some wok cooking when I bought that wok, and it's managed to slide off my radar a little bit also. But maybe
the only problem with paella is you end up making so much you eat it and eat
right.
it and eat it unless you invite everybody and their 7 brothers over.
Yeah, I don't have the Le Creuset paella pan. there's a bunch of paella pans out there that I think that are really good that are $25.
Mhm.
Brian says bread pizzas and calzones. We're gonna talk. I'm gonna talk about pizza because pizza's on my list, and I've got a specific goal I want to do with that. So Jeff's got beef Wellington, and I've got pork Wellington. What else have you got, Jeff?
I don't know, John. I thought, I've made so much on my grill over the past couple of years that,
Jordan
um,
says he wants to see more desserts and sides. I've done a lot of desserts on the
yeah.
grill.
I mean,
Uh,
desserts are great. The dump cakes, come out
yeah,
good. The cinnamon rolls have been great on the grill.
my favorite dessert so far that I've made on the grill, I think, is an Atlanta Grill Company video, and it's a dump cake.
Hmm.
It's a
Those are so easy.
it's a cherry and peach dump cake with I think I put amaretto in it or maybe Grand Marnier or it was one of the most amazing desserts I think I've ever cooked on a grill. I've done a lot of pies on the grill, so Robert wants to cook scallops on the soapstone, and
I tell
I
you what,
yeah
Robert, scallops on the soapstone, buddy, that's the ticket.
the salt block. I threw my salt block away. I had one, and man, I just could not get the salt block hot enough to do what I wanted to do on it. That the idea there is kind of cool, but let me tell you what happens. Uh, even if you do get it hot enough to sear, the minute you put meat on there or something cold on there, it loses its heat and it does not have the thermal retention, in my opinion,
No.
that it takes to cook. Jeff, have you cooked on a salt block? Have you tried
Yeah,
that? Have you had any
totally
luck
agree
with
with
it?
you. I mean, it takes so long to get it up to temperature, number one. And and I don't know why. You would think as fast as it loses its temperature, when you throw something cold on there, that it would come back relatively quick, but it doesn't. It doesn't impress me.
Okay.
I'd much rather use the soapstone.
I just added birria tacos to my list because that's something I've looked at too. I watched a video where Matt Pittman did those and they look crazy. And I think that would be something that would be easy to do on my either the gas grill, which is not left here yet. I think my gas grill may be staying because the guy that I've traded it to has never bothered to come pick it up. I might do it on the gas grill or I might do it on the Weber 26. I was thinking about the 26-inch kettle today. I need to get myself a decent sized griddle. I may just buy one of those one of those rectangular lodge griddles to use on that. But that's a good idea. The birria tacos are something that I want to do. I really like how those look. Uh, a man cave meals bourbon. Well, I'm not going to be making bourbon. I'll tell you, Ryan, I gave up home brewing to get into the barbecue hobby. I was an avid home brewer prior to getting into smoking meats. When I bought my smoker, I said, this is a lot of fun. And I gave up my home brewing hobby. And it was a shame actually because I had just spent a good bit of money on some new equipment so I could start lagering. I bought a freezer, a chest freezer, and a Johnson control where I could uh, ferment beer at lager temperatures for a long time, and I never actually got around to making one. Dave, did your soapstone break or did it just crack? My Kamado Joe soapstone, my original one that I got when they first released these things, has a crack in it, but it's not giving up the ghost on me yet. It's still cooking fine after hundreds of cooks. Uh, I don't know of any brands other than Kamado Joe. I don't know anybody that sells a soapstone that's set up for grilling. Uh,
You can go to
so,
go out to a countertop place that has granite and
right.
soapstone and whatnot. Get them to cut you one the size that you want.
Boater, one of the things that is on my list, it's actually the next thing that was on my list was a smoked whole fish. That's on my list, and I want to do this. I don't know about mullet. I think I'm probably gonna do I might do trout or something that's easy for me to get fresh. Uh,
Mullet is good because it's a real oily fish.
right. Well, I think trout's fairly oily too.
Yeah,
It's about
not
like
anything compared
salmon.
to mullet. Not anything compared to mullet. The best mullet I had, we had this old boy that had the old time refrigerator, the one with the metal insides,
Mhm.
the oldie moldy goldie metal racks, metal insides, and he took the compressor out of the bottom, and that's where he had his small fire. And he loaded that thing up, that whole refrigerator up with racks and mullet. Man, that guy could make the best mullet. And all he did was it was just salt and pepper on his mullet. But
Right.
man, that was good stuff.
Jordan, the deep cleaning is always a good idea periodically, but don't overdo it. Uh, I don't like to tell people. I know everybody wants to take that Kamado to 900 degrees or whatever, but I take mine whenever I decide I need to do that. I go to 600 degrees and I hold it there until I don't see any white smoke coming out, and then it's done. That's all I do. But I only do that about once or twice a year max. So where are we? Sauces and gravies. That's a good thing to do. I think everybody should learn to make a couple of the mother sauces, starting out with the bechamel, because all of your gravies basically come from a bechamel, and the roux that's part of the bechamel. You need to learn to make a blonde roux, which is the quick one, and then learn to make a dark roux, which is the darker one. And there's a lot of sauces that start with that, and it's something I think everybody need to do. And my macaroni and cheese starts with a roux, a bechamel, and then it becomes a mornay when you put cheese in it. So uh, also, you need to learn to make sauces that are not thickened with starch, not thickened with a flour. Well, they're thickened with a starch, but not with a roux. You need to learn to thicken sauces with cornstarch, because in the Asian world, most of the Asian sauces are thickened with cornstarch. They're not thickened with flour and fat. So you can thicken a lot of liquids with cornstarch. Like for instance, that liquid that I had collected in that pan with the or that foil from those beef ribs. Uh, if I wanted a sauce that was clearer, it's not going to be a clear sauce, but clearer. I don't want to put flour in it. I would want to thicken that with a cornstarch slurry instead of a flour and a fat. So Jordan, I just get the thing wide open until I get to around 600 degrees, and then just start shutting it down to keep it from going over that. It doesn't have to be exactly 600. If you're 50 or 75 degrees on either side of that, you're good. So don't worry about when you're talking temperatures over 500, Jordan. You want to start with the vents wide open until you get there, and just taper it. Leave your bottom vent fully open and just control it from the top. But uh, a gumbo.
I'll do a gumbo this year.
Okay, Jeff. I'm gonna put gumbo underneath your beef Wellington, Jeff.
I've done gumbo out on the Kamado. The only thing I haven't cooked on the Kamado is the dark roux, just
So,
because that's real temperamental.
okay, well, I've done a good bit with brats and sausages here and there, but what I there's some let me put this on my list also, because I want to make some sausage. I have some ideas about making homemade sausages that don't involve stuffing casings. I don't think I want to get into that, but I've seen a neat trick that I want to do. So we'll talk about sausages. So the next thing that was on my list is something else I've talked about doing for a long time and never made myself do. And I've done it once. I want to learn to properly debone a chicken or a turkey. I've only done this once, and I did it with a duck that I had. I deboned the duck, but it wasn't pretty when I was done. So I'm going to learn to debone a chicken because I want to be able to make one of these stuffed chickens, and I would like to do something else at Thanksgiving, maybe next year, with a stuffed turkey that's been deboned. And I have watched a lot of YouTube videos on how this is done, and there's a lot of different methods I've seen for doing this. Jeff, have you done this before? I'm sure you probably have.
Yep.
Is
I
there
start
one
right down to breastbone.
is there one method that's better than another for deboning the whole thing?
That's what I like. I like starting with the breastbone, coming down both sides of the breastbone, and then laying that piece out, and then just
Yep.
work your way around and, get your wings out, get your legs out, your thighs out. I say it's tedious work.
Yep. George, I have watched Jacques Pepin's video on that probably 20 times. I have. And there's nothing wrong with his method. I've just seen some other methods that I think feel a little easier maybe than the way he does it. When I did the duck, I used his method. I followed his instructions. I set up my tablet on my work table, and I was starting and stopping the video and trying to do it a piece at a time. When he was doing a chicken and I was doing a duck, they're in essence the same, but the duck anatomy is slightly different than a chicken, but it's basically the same. The duck's upper body or torso from the duck's waist down at the hip up to the top of the breast is longer than it is on a chicken. It's a little bit different. But George, I thought he did make it look easy, but Pepin has done that so many times.
He can do it in his sleep.
Probably do one blindfolded, and you wouldn't know that he'd done it blindfolded. I don't know about deli meats. I'm not sure I quite understand the question. Scott, glad you could make it with us tonight. I hope you had a good Christmas. So on my list is pork Wellington, a smoked whole fish, learning how to debone a whole chicken and do it well, because I would really like to take that down to doing a Cornish hen, to doing a stuffed Cornish hen that had been deboned. But learning how to debone, I think it's going to be easier with something larger rather than something smaller. So
Definitely.
the next thing on my list I want to talk about is pizza. One of my objectives in 2023 is I want to do 12 pizza videos. I'm going to do all of them on the Kamado Joe, and I'm probably going to use the Dojo accessory on all of those. Now, you won't have to have a dojo to do anything that I'm doing. If you've got a dojo, that's great. If not, it's not a big deal. But I bought this set of books, this Modernist Pizza, and I want to do some different videos on different pizza styles. And Jordan, I've done corned beef. I've done multiple videos on corned beef already. That's a lot. That's a fun project, and I think that's something everybody should definitely learn to do if you like it. So, straight A's.
Or take it a step further and turn it into pastrami.
Well, actually, what I've done is pastrami. I've never really done corned beef, because I think the only difference, if I understand this, and I'm probably wrong, is corned beef is steamed or boiled, and pastrami is smoked.
Yep.
So it's the same, other than that.
Well, plus you put the spices on the pastrami that you don't put on the corned beef, because it's not going to stick when you have it in the steamer.
But that's one of the reasons, like in these ribs you saw that I did, I put coriander. I put coriander there because my favorite seasoning to go on pastrami is a simple blend of coriander, black pepper, and garlic. That's what I like on my pastrami. That I don't like to get it any more complicated than that, because
of course, the better.
Coriander is a key, I think, to good pastrami. So maybe I'll do another pastrami. We'll see. Pastrami is an excellent thing to do with a brisket flat. I think brisket flat is point obviously is better, but brisket flat. You can also do pastrami with chuck. I've done it with chuck roast. I've done it with beef ribs. I've made pastrami several different ways with several different cuts of meat. And I wonder, this is bringing up something else, Jeff. I wonder if pastrami, if I'm wondering, a lot of people do this thing called buckboard bacon. They make bacon out of pork butts. I wonder if you could turn a pork butt into anything that would taste even remotely like pastrami. Probably not, because it's pork.
I don't know, John. Yeah, I mean, if you put that seasoning blend on there,
It's
it
food
might be
for
okay.
thought, right?
Yeah.
It's
I mean, I wouldn't try to do it in a whole butt. I would take and cut the butt down.
Yeah. Boater's got a question here that I would like to address specifically, Tanya. About doing the hotter pizza without the dojo. I'm going to click it up here. There it is. I have, and I'm going to say this. I've said this before. I do not believe you should take a Kamado Joe above 700 degrees, and a lot of people don't want to hear that. And I'm hoping Jeff might be able to back me up on this. Jeff, have you taken a KJ up over 700?
Nope.
Okay,
I
maybe
don't
not.
believe it's necessary. For what
It's
reason
not.
would you need to take it above 700 degrees?
Well, the Neapolitan pizza is a 900-degree pizza, and if you want to cook Neapolitan pizza by the traditional method, you have to do it at 900 degrees. And I do, while I know the Kamado Joe can handle 900 degrees, but I don't believe I've done it, and I've played with it on multiple occasions. I don't feel that the Kamado Joe is completely safe at 900 degrees. The reason for this being is the bands that hold the dome on, they expand, they get loose, they get what I consider to be dangerously loose when you heat the grill that hot. And
Particularly if you haven't paid attention to keeping your bands tight.
Well, if your bands aren't tight, it's only going to compound the problem, but you can't tighten the bands up enough to where they don't get loose when you take that grill to 900 degrees. And people aren't seeing that so much when they take their grills to 900 degrees or hotter to do these clean out burns. They're probably not raising their dome and seeing that dome move inside the band. It's just one of these things. Brian, I did not keep my rock box. And if you want to make Neapolitan pizzas, something like the rock box is a perfect tool for it. Or Alpha oven, if you want to have a nicer wood-fired oven. The Alpha just released a new I think they're calling it a portable.
Yeah,
I can't. I don't. Is it the Reno?
No, it's the Moderna.
The Moderna. Yeah, it's an even smaller than the Alpha One.
It's got a beautiful gas flame in it.
It's still a 1200. How much is that oven, Jeff? I didn't even go to look and see what they cost.
Didn't check on the price. I just looked at the oven, and it's got a beautiful flame on it. Produces
the rock
nice
box
flame
is $500. The rock box, I think, is $500. There's several other options out there that are in that same category. You've got the rock box. You've got the uni. That uni Coda, that 16-inch uni is a good option. This Halo, I'm impressed with what I've seen from the Halo, but I don't have one. I've not cooked on it, so I don't know for sure. If I knew somebody that had a Halo, in fact, one of my audience bought a Halo. I'm trying to remember now who it was. Was it George? No, it was somebody else. I'll see if I can get somebody to come on and talk to me about the Halo oven. So, Broder, you can use any. You can do Neapolitan pizza at 700 degrees. You don't have to be at 900 to do that. It takes just instead of a 90-second pizza, you're going to have a 2 minute or 2.5 minute pizza at 700 degrees. But I don't think I would change anything about the recipe. You're still going to want to make a 58 to 60% hydration dough by whichever method you want. You can do a quick dough, you can do a 24, 48, or 72-hour dough, and do it at 700 degrees. You'll be fine at 700.
I like a 60% hydration and
Yeah.
72 hours. I think that's a very sweet spot for me.
So that's fine. But what my intentions are is I'm going to go through some of this book, this Modernist Pizza book, and I'm going to pick out 12, hopefully different styles of pizza, and I'm going to do one video a month for the entire year. So what would a griddle plate? What's my favorite things to cook with a griddle plate? One of them is crispy skinned salmon, and I've done video on that. I like to cook salmon fillets on a stone or on cast iron, or even in a cast iron pan. You don't have to have anything fancy, but put that salmon fillet on there skin side down and watch it cook. You can see from the outer edge, you can watch this thing cook it about 75% of the way through, skin side down, in some ghee. Put just a little ghee in the bottom of that pan and let it cook. And then when it gets to that where it's almost cooked all the way through, go ahead and flip it over. And I love that crispy skinned salmon. I like to do that. I like scallops because that's what you have to get a nice caramelized sear on a scallop. My personal favorite method for cooking steaks is on a stone or on iron. I like the sear quality that I get there. Jeff, what else do we like cooking on stones or on iron?
Asparagus is good on the iron, I think. Gets a nice char to it.
Yeah.
Well, smash burgers naturally.
Yeah, smash burgers, perfect. Yep. So it's Lucas here with us. Lucas said it's the Moderno. That's a really nice looking oven. It's brand new from Alpha. I know Freddie, I think, has been posting some stuff about it. I don't know if he's posted any video content cooking on it yet. I know he showed it running a couple times. It looks really nice.
He just did 12 pizzas on it.
Yeah.
12 in a row. And
So yeah,
that thing has a beautiful flame. I mean, it's going to hold that temperature nice.
I'm going to, not having seen this oven, I haven't seen it, but I'm going to go ahead and call it the really right stuff because these Alpha ovens are amazing. They're really right. And I think the gas fired, especially if you're going to cook Neapolitan pizzas, gas fired is the way to go. And if mine had been gas fired, I'd have probably held on to it because it had made it a lot easier, a lot quicker to use, and I wouldn't have to deal with keeping the wood. Yes, it can be done on a soapstone. The crispy skin salmon. The video I did, there's an Atlanta Grill Company video where I did that. I demonstrated that in video, and it was fantastic. And that skin is delicious. It's got a nice crunch to it, got a nice flavor to it. You want to salt it, just before you cook, and it's amazing. A lot of people don't care for the skin, but if they cook it this way, they wouldn't be able to get enough of it.
Yeah.
So,
crispy fish skin is good.
So, but anyway, that's what I'm going to do with pizzas. My objective is one pizza video a month for the next 12 months, starting in January. And maybe what I'll take that back. I'm not going to do all of them with the dojo. I'll split it up. I'll do some with the dojo and some without, because I want to make sure everybody still remembers how to do my original method that I came up with of cooking pizzas on the Kamado Joe with you use the heat deflectors, put a little spacer, washers or something in between the heat deflectors and the pizza stone to keep your pizza stone from overheating. And it makes amazing pizza. I'll do some both ways, and we'll figure that out as we go. But
about 3/4 of an inch space on that is ideal.
Yeah. So I've played around with a lot of different spacings of, half an inch to an inch and a quarter. Anywhere in there is good. But I'm gonna bring the Detroit pizza back out, and I'll probably, even though it's not pizza, I'm probably gonna do the focaccia, Jeff. I'm gonna bring that out
I
as
tell you what,
well.
that focaccia we made,
Yeah,
we zeroed in on that recipe, buddy. Let me tell you.
it's amazing. It's really good. So uh,
How many times did
that's
we
on.
make it to get it where we wanted it?
I think we made the. I think the focaccia is one of the things that came out right the first time. That was one of
No,
that
we monkeyed with it a little bit on the hydration from what it
did
originally
we.
was. We went to a higher hydration on it.
Why am I thinking? I thought the focaccia was the one that
Mm.
I'll have to go back and look then at the notes because I thought that was one of the only things I did. I thought that came out right the first try.
No, I think it was the third try we kept up in the
Okay,
hydration level on it.
but yeah, you can't make focaccia too high.
No.
You need to. Yes, Brian, Lloyd's pans. Man, those things are crazy. And I'll probably make the focaccia. I'll either do it in my 10 by 14 Lloyd's pan, or I've got a Lodge pan up there that's really good for focaccia, but I don't know if it'll fit on my Classic Joe. It may. If it will, I may use the Lodge cast iron one. Uh, I know I did one with it in the Alpha. So, but yes, get Lloyd pans. LLOYDPANS. Those pans are awesome. So, uh, the the pizza's going to happen. I'm going to throw some stuff in with that. And the last thing that's on my list is something that Chef Eric did. I don't remember exactly how long ago it was now, but if you go look on the Kamado Joe YouTube channel, he did a grilled cheese that was on. He cooked it on the cast iron griddle on a Kamado Joe, and I want to take Chef Eric's technique of making that grilled cheese the way he made it, and I want to make a man cave grilled cheese using the same technique. But I want to use I want to make a beef and cheese grilled cheese. I want to use some sort of chopped leftover beef, whether it be brisket or uh, it might be sirloin tip, it might be
Beef ribs.
tri-tip, beef ribs. Uh, Beef rib would be good. In fact, that would
Beef
be an
ribs would
excellent.
be excellent
Yeah, because what I want to do is take that leftover meat and just chop it and make that part of this grilled cheese sandwich.
with a little grilled
And
onion in there.
yeah, there's
Baby.
so much you can do with it. And I want to what Chef Eric did is he took some sourdough bread and he laid down some butter on the Kamado Joe cast iron grate. And then he put his bread down on this and let the bread stay there for maybe a minute. He didn't really caramelize the outside of that bread. Then he flipped each of the bread slices, and then he put his cheese on, and then he closed it up and let the cheese melt. And then he put them together and flipped them. And by this time, that one slice of bread had a good caramelization on it. And he flipped them. And also on his cheese, he shook on a little bit of salt and pepper. Uh, and I wanna take that concept and turn it into something that I'm not gonna. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna say that Chef Eric's grilled cheese was not man cave acceptable, because it was.
It was.
If you go back and look at that video, it'll have you drooling in a heartbeat. But Chef, this is one of the times that Chef actually stuck to one of his guns. One of the things he likes to say is simple things done well win every time. And he brought that up in this video, but and he kept it simple. The only ingredients he brought to the table on this cook were some sourdough bread, butter, salt, pepper, cheddar cheese, and Munster. That was it. That was all he brought. And that thing looked incredible. It's something I wanted to dive into. And so I'm going to play with that, but I want to take it up a notch. I don't want to add a whole lot more ingredients. I do want to add beef. I want to add a little beef to the process, but I also might want to add instead of just butter that we're cooking on that griddle, I might want to make. I think I want to make a mixture of butter and olive oil, and I want to season that butter and olive oil a little bit with. I don't know if I don't know if I want to maybe use a little garlic, a little bit of garlic, and even a smaller amount of cayenne pepper. I want to bring a little bit of punch to that, Jeff. What do you think? Something to amp that bread up just a notch. Not a
Sounds
whole
good to me.
lot.
I'm more interested in amping up the inside with some
Yeah.
beef, some mushrooms, caramelized onions. It's almost going to be
Well,
like a Philly cheesesteak grilled cheese sandwich.
yeah. So these are the things. So and on top, that's where my list ended. My list had pork Wellington, a smoked whole fish, deboned whole chicken, which is going to turn into something that's a stuffed chicken, the Kamado Joe pizza series that I want to work, and then this grilled cheese sandwich. And to that, based on some comments you guys have made, I'm going to consider paella. I'm not going to promise it. Birria tacos are something I think I'd like to do. Gumbo, Jeff, you and I need to get together and we need to work on gumbo together because I would like to not so much have or this is just my thought, and we can go whichever direction you want to go. Let's take gumbo, Jeff, and you and I'll work on that one together.
Okay.
And
So my
let
gumbo isn't a traditional gumbo because it's
right.
got crawfish, it's got ham, it's got chicken, it's got andouille sausage. It
I would like
has.
to do a gumbo that's not a Cajun style gumbo.
Mm,
Let's take let's take gumbo some other direction. I know everybody gumbo and Cajun are they're synonymous with each other.
blasphemy is all I can say, John. You're taking it
Well,
out of here.
could we not take gumbo and move it a little further west and make a southwestern gumbo? And how can we make that happen? Let's think about it.
You could with the pepper add some peppers to it. You
Let's
could
get Janice involved in this and let's talk to Janice about what she would do if she was going
yeah,
to make a
that would probably
gumbo.
be good. Mix all three of our ideas up. I bet we could come up with something in between. Of course, she
Because
may tell us, hey, don't mess with the Holy Grail.
Janice knows about her southwestern flavorings, and Janice, if I ask I don't know if she's here with us tonight,
I
but
haven't seen her
uh,
tonight.
no, but we'll talk to Janice and say, hey Janice, if you were going to make a gumbo to call your own, what would you do? And we'll rip it off from her. What do you think? And we'll call it our own after she tells us what to do. Does that sound good?
Hey,
Maybe, we're going to have to try it. Jeff and I will show you a collaboration on gumbo once we figure out what it's going to be. Now, Jarrell makes something that he called, no, Jarrell doesn't do gumbo. Jarrell makes goulash, which is a little
yeah,
different. So, okay. All right. So that's what was
he's
on
still
my
coming
list.
back to Atlanta, isn't he?
Uh, he said he was. I haven't heard him say any more about that lately, but I think he's moving back to Atlanta. And Fran's talking about a ciabatta bread there every late today. That's okay, Remus. Glad you can make it with us. Fran said Fran made a ciabatta bread. Ciabatta is something else that Jeff and I did during the pandemic.
Mhm.
I don't I
What
don't know
didn't
if I
we
got
do in pandemic?
I don't know. And yes, ciabatta benefits highly from high hydration dough. And I don't know if I got around to making a video on ciabatta. If you go back to the Man Cave Meals YouTube channel, some of the stuff that Jeff and I did during the pandemic, I made video of. I know I made a video on the white sandwich bread. I made
Mhm.
video on the bagels. I made video on the cinnamon buns and I made video on the sourdough bread, but I don't think I got around to making video on the ciabatta. And I will let
John, I'm thinking more about that, and I'm thinking it's the cinnamon buns is what we kept playing with, going back and forth,
we did we
not
had to.
the.
I know we made cinnamon buns 3 or 4 times before we
Yeah,
got it where we wanted it. I think
I'm
the
thinking it
ciabatta.
may be the cinnamon buns and not the other that we went back and
I
forth
think
on.
the focaccia. I'm pretty confident the focaccia I didn't change it after the first try. I left it the way it
I'm
was.
thinking you're right. I think we got that
Yeah.
one right. I think it was the cinnamon buns. We kept going
We
up and
did
up on
that
the
one.
hydration.
I don't know how many times, and I did bagels a couple times also.
Mm-hmm.
We did several things. And Jeff and I were trying to uh, do the shelter in place thing and spend time at home. So he and I were talking back and forth. We made a list of bread projects that we wanted to learn to make and do well, and we did. We mastered a couple of things there. Ciabatta was on that list. So uh, I don't know if
Your
I don't
ciabatta
know.
came out better than mine. My ciabatta didn't come out shaped quite right. But
Well, ciabatta benefits from high hydration dough. The good thing about ciabatta is you don't need a big rise on ciabatta because you're going to slice it. It's not going to be a big rise, but this is one of those things where I wish I had one of those mixers like Freddie's got, that spiral mixer. That would turn that process into something that's not so difficult. So, all
that
right.
would produce a really nice ciabatta.
Right. So, okay, guys, we're wrapping up the hour here, and I've been through the list of things that I want to accomplish for myself in 2022 or 2023. Pork Wellington, smoked whole fish, a deboned whole chicken that will get stuffed with something and cooked. I got to learn how to do the
You're going to save the
debone.
skin on that, right, John, when you go to
Yes, the
debone it?
skin stays on. Right. The pizza, 12 pizza projects, one a month for the whole year. The man cave grilled cheese and beef sandwich project. Those are definites. Those are the 5 that I want to do for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The things that you guys have added that I'm going to have a look at are paella, birria tacos, gumbo, and sausages. Jeff is going to do beef Wellington, and we'll see how that goes. I'll give you a tip, Jeff. Just go ahead and go buy a whole beef tenderloin and cut yourself about 3 2-pound pieces out of the middle of it where you've got some stuff to work with, because don't go try to buy Chateaubriand, because if you find it, it's just so expensive. It's
I always get the whole tenderloin and cut it up myself. And it's finally almost come down to a reasonable price again. I mean, it was ridiculous. All beef there for a while. I was buying more pork than anything.
Periodically, Costco runs it for $10 or $11 a pound.
Well, usually I'll get the untrimmed for $9.99 a pound. Is what it was.
Never buy the trimmed one.
No, anybody buys. I mean, it's what, $7 more a pound to buy a trimmed one?
It is.
Man, I can do that myself all day long.
I can't remember if it's a Man Cave Meals video or a Kamado Joe video. I did a video on how to break down a whole beef tenderloin. Mm-hmm. I can't remember if it was Kamado Joe or
it's not
Atlanta
hard.
Grill Company. It's out there somewhere. It wasn't Atlanta Grill Company. It was probably a Kamado Joe video, because I bought a whole beef tenderloin and then I did like 4 different cooks from things that I broke down off that tenderloin.
My other project this year is I want to do some more bacon.
Homemade bacon?
Yeah, I don't feel proficient in it yet. I've had opposite ends of the spectrum.
I didn't see George's comment on beef bacon.
He thought about the beef bacon on the grilled cheese.
Beef bacon. So what's beef bacon? I'm not sure I know what that is. What cut of beef are you making that out of? What cut of meat would that be made out of? Brisket?
I think he's getting it already made, beef bacon. You can go to the store and buy it. Many meat markets have it as beef bacon.
Yeah, but what cut are they making that out of? Is there a beef belly? Sure. Is there a belly piece on the beef that they're making that out of, like on a pig?
You got me.
I don't know.
I'll look it up.
I've seen bacon. Bacon, bacon's nothing. It's cured, so I guess you could call about anything you cure bacon if you want to. Let me get Tanya back up in here. Tanya, is there anything I need to learn to do in the new year that interests you? Have you been inspired by any of the things we've talked about here tonight? That's something else I need to add to my list. I need to add at least one thing to my list that Tanya likes. So what's that going to be?
Well, there's a lot of cool things, but one thing that I would like to see, and I don't know how doable it is, but I'd like to
Uh-huh.
see more veggies with proteins.
So we need to do some. I need to add some veggie sides.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay, I've added that to my list.
And we need to
Let's see if
do
we can't come up with 4 or 5 of those.
the
Beef bacon is
burger I
made from
was
the
talking
beef
to you
belly.
about.
Oh, and don't forget, John, you still have to make that grit pizza.
Yeah, we still
Yeah,
have to
we
make our
haven't got that
breakfast
done
pizza.
yet. Shrimp and grits is something else I want to add to my list. I was thinking about that today too. Tanya,
John?
do you remember that shrimp and grits I had at Notions in downtown Hickory, where
Yeah.
they had taken the grit cake and they had breaded it and deep fried it and then served the shrimp
Fried
over the
grits. It's
top
a
of it.
traditional Southern
Yeah,
breakfast. Yes.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Leftover grits.
he had
What I
breaded
do
it.
with my leftover grits is I take my small sheet pan and I spread them out on that small
Yeah.
sheet pan, and then take my round cutter and cut them and fry them. Lots of
This
butter.
chef had taken he had made grit cakes that way as well. He had done it a little thicker. These were about 1.5 inches or maybe even 2 inches thick, and cut them into rectangular cubes and probably rolled it in flour and egg and Autry's seafood breading
Mm-hmm.
and deep fried those things. And that was the base for his shrimp and grits. That he made the sautéed shrimp and some sort of beautiful pan sauce that just went on top of that.
Yes,
Beth,
Blue
traditional.
grits are great too.
we need Tanya. We need to introduce Beth to our grit source because I think they have blue grits also.
Well, traditionally, fried grits, they're leftover grits. You usually put them into a pan or some sort of container and put them in the refrigerator. Then, when you're ready to use them again, you go in and you'd cut them into the squares, and then you would do the flour and the egg batter,
Right,
Mm-hmm.
the egg wash.
and you fry them up in a pan, and it's absolutely fantastically delicious.
Okay,
Traditionally, it's served with brains, but I don't get that traditional. But I do like the
right.
fried grits. John, what
Okay.
about that buckboard bacon that you made that time?
What about it?
Yeah.
I don't think you were willing to try that.
No, I wasn't. But what was that made out of?
Pork butt.
Oh, pork butt. Okay. I was trying to think. I've seen the beef bacon out there quite a bit. You can actually pick some up at the local grocer.
Hmm.
And I was just, I was wondering if that was maybe something similar to what George was looking for.
I'm sure it
Yeah.
is, but I don't know. I don't know where to buy the meat to make that with.
That's
I
what
don't
I've
know.
never seen beef belly for sale.
I haven't, so I need to do some research about beef bacon, and I'll find out if that's being made. Pork or brisket flat's too lean for bacon. It's
But
just
according to
not.
what I was reading, it's made from the belly, John,
Well, okay.
which you're not going to get. So,
Well, I might be able to get it. I've got a local guy that I went to high school
right.
with that I might be able to source that from him. I'll have to ask him about it. Uh, okay, I'll figure it out. Tanya wants to look at beef bacon, and Tanya wants to look at some veggie sides. Okay,
You know
so
what's also good with your fried grit cake is take the center and hollow out the center and put a fried egg in there, and then
mhm.
get that nice yolk.
Shakshuka. I'm
Yeah,
going
get
to add
that
that to
nice
my
yolk.
list too because I've been thinking about that. We're going to do this shakshuka. I don't know how to spell that, but I'm going to just make a note here. That's something I want to do. And I want to make my own version of some of the ways I've seen that done. Okay, so that's got me covered. I've got enough there to keep me busy. Uh,
Okay, I'm gonna have to get going here, John. I got to go take care of the lovely bride. She's
all right,
needing some things,
Jeff,
and
I
she's
appreciate it.
incapacitated.
We'll see you next week.
All right, y'all take care. Till next
Hey,
week. Have a good one.
Beth, Tanya, and I. In fact, I just ordered some of these things. I ordered another supply this week. there's a place down in South Carolina where Tanya and I order our grits. It's now called Marsh Hen Mill, MARSHHEN mill.com. I like their yellow grits. Their speckled grits are good. They've got yellow grits, they've got white grits, and then they've got a speckled grit that's a combination of the two. But they've got these Jimmy Red grits. They've got blue grits. Tanya, we haven't tried the blue ones, have we?
I can't remember if we did or not.
And I think the Jimmy Red grits, I don't think we did try those, didn't we? Or did we? I don't remember.
I didn't particularly care for the red grits.
Yeah, but Beth, this place, if you like making, she says she had blue grits. She didn't tell me if she made them or if she bought them. Okay, she says she's got a restaurant in town that has a shrimp and grits. Here it is with blue grits, and it was good. Okay, I don't know. I really like making my stone ground grits from scratch, and I do mine in the old-fashioned. I don't know if it's the old-fashioned way. I do mine in a double boiler, and it takes an hour to an hour and 15 minutes to do them the way I do it. But I like to cook my grits in a mixture, usually like a 50-50 blend of something like half and half and chicken stock. Tanya's not a fan. Tanya doesn't like the way I make my grits. Tanya, are you okay with just doing it in milk even, or do you have to have them done in water?
I'd be willing to try the milk, but I'm so totally against this flavorful liquids philosophy. If I wanted chicken, I would go look a chicken butt. If I wanted my grits to taste like chicken, I would do that. I want my grits to taste like grits.
Okay.
Butter, not chicken.
All right. Well,
so Smoking Dad has something here, he says.
James, glad you could make it with us. Brisket can work for beef bacon. Okay. Beef short ribs. Yeah, I think a short rib, like these ribs I cooked that I showed you guys earlier in the broadcast, that might work for bacon. It very well might just work for bacon. Look at Beth. I mean, you guys are ganging up on me.
No, it's just the truth. I mean, I'm sorry. I get the point of flavorful liquids, but daggum, I don't want everything to taste like chicken stock or beef stock or vegetable stock or Kool-Aid for that matter. I mean, Kool-Aid is a flavorful liquid. You know, would we put it in grits? I think not. We
got to at least do it in milk. Let's experiment with that this week. I'll make grits tomorrow. We'll do a test run tomorrow because I've got plenty. We'll see. We'll figure it out. Okay. Anyway, somebody's got a question for you, James, if you're still here. Some guys were wondering if they should buy a basket for the rotisserie. Let me tell you, I don't know if James is still here. I hope he is, but guys, that basket, I haven't had my hands on one, but I've seen it. And I think it's right this time around. It's very well. It appears to be very well made. I'm not going to buy one simply because I don't cook on the rotisserie as much, but I know James does, and so let's see. So I guess he's talking about the basket there. I've only had one issue with my prime rib and didn't have time to fix it while recording. It's been flawless before and since. So yeah, that rotisserie basket looks really right. If that's what they should have put out the first time. Really, it is. That first one was a disaster. They pulled it 6 weeks after they released it because it wasn't doing well. So here it is. Or Tanya, I'm sorry, I clicked on that with you. Okay, so James was trying to stretch it beyond its limit here, it looks like. Is that possible? But it looks like it's if you enjoy cooking on the rotisserie, I highly recommend buying that basket. I think it's a right tool for you if you like cooking on that. Like I said, I haven't had my hands on it. James has. James has done a good bit of content on that already, and it's what I would want to call a really right tool. I would, if I was using one, I would give it my Man Cave Meals really right stuff hashtag for sure. It looks good, so I wouldn't hesitate to buy that one little bit. But all right, well, we got to wrap. I'm tired. It's been a long day, and I'm glad we're through the Christmas season. So I'm looking forward to 2023. I'm looking forward to doing all the things that we just talked about here. We're gonna bring the 12-month pizza game. I'm gonna do 12 pizza videos in 2023. And if you've got suggestions on specific types of pizzas you would like to see, shoot me a message or leave me a comment here. I intend to do the Detroit. I'm probably going to do a Chicago style pizza. Those will be two that get in here. Seema, glad you could join us tonight too. And you too, James. Thanks. Happy New Year to everybody. I've got to work this weekend, so but I'm gonna throw the Detroit pizza in there. I'm gonna throw in the Chicago because I like making Chicago style pizza. Those will be 2 of the 12. I'm probably gonna do a thin Roman crust pizza. Tanya, I may even work in the lunchroom pizza into this project. The school lunch.
Talking about.
Yeah. Heck yeah. All right. Anyway, guys, y'all have a good week. Happy New Year, and we'll see you next week.